and welcome. You have tuned into Buy Now, Sell Now on ET Now. I'm Shrishti Sharma, and with me as always is Cheryl D'Souza. And viewers, this is the show where you get answers for all your stock-related queries. In a short while from now, we will open the stage to get your stock-related queries answered. But before that, let's have a look at what the markets are up to. So Cheryl, the markets are clearly in the red, but a lot of action in the IPO space. First day for a lot of companies on the stock exchanges and rewarding the shareholders.
Absolutely, Shrishti, and that is exactly what I was going to talk about, is the fact that you can actually leave aside the benchmark indices today, but instead look at those bumper listings that we are actually witnessing on the D Street. Remember, yesterday was Ireda's turn, and what a spectacular up move that particular counter posted. Today also you're seeing a good up move on the counter. It opened with a bump of approximately 12% or so. Then from there on it gave up some of its gains, but nevertheless you had Ireda also hold on to good gains. Now it's trading higher by about 8%. But yes, you're all eyes on only one stock today, and that definitely has to be Tata Technologies. Spectacular up move on that particular counter. Post is listing 161% up move coming in from the issue price for Tata Tech. But we will talk about this in a short while from now. But let's take a look at the markets. No, I did say let's ignore the benchmarks for a tad bit. But if you look at the benchmark indices, remember today is F&O expiry, and that's the reason why you're seeing those jittery moves coming in on the benchmark indices. You can see Nifty right now shy of that 20,100 mark, which it surpassed yesterday on an intraday basis as well, and today as well it opened a tad bit above those levels as well. Talking about Nifty Bank, that's the place where the pain is a little more sharper, almost 4/10% downtick coming for Nifty Bank, underperforming the benchmark indices. Talking about the advanced decline ratio, as we speak it's tilted a tad bit in the favor of the decliners as of now, but yes, kind of 1:1 ratio. Talking about the list of gainers, you have the two-wheeler counters that are actually zooming fast ahead today as well. Hero MotoCorp, record high levels for that particular counter, still holding on to strong gains, about 2.9%. You have Eicher Motors as well, that's seeing good gains at this point in time. SBI Life, Apollo Hospital, DVs are the other set of counters that are gaining. But on the flip side is Tata Motors, that's declining about 1.5%, or rather 1.7%. Downtick coming for Tata Motors, Adani Enterprises, ICICI Bank, HDFC Bank. Those are the other set of losers at this point in time. So let's take a look at the sectoral indices then. And among the sectoral indices is Bank, Realty, Energy that are in the negative territory. While on the flip side, you have the Pharma Index as the top sectoral gainer, as well as the broader markets are holding on to good gains. But that's the way how the markets are looking like at this point in time, Shrishti. But yes, like I said, you cannot take your eyes off from what is happening when it comes to the entire IPO space, new listings on the bourses.
Well, yes, a great listing for all these counters, and like you mentioned, Cheryl, it has been a great week rather, because a lot of listing happened, especially in Tata Tech. The stock actually doubled the investor as well. So first of all, let's visit Nikunj Dalmia's take on this.
A fantastic debut, the debut of the year or the debut of the season. We are looking at some numbers right now, but I just want to put a point in context here. After a 150% surge based on FY24, I'm only looking at trailing. The stock is trading at a P multiple of 70 plus. So if a stock is trading at a P multiple of 70 plus, even though it's a Tata group of company, the question you could ask yourself is that, is this a great company available at a good price, or is this a great company where the scope of return in the near term, purely because of the price, gets marginalized? Best of the companies, doesn't matter what pedigree they are from, if the stock price is not in sync with the reality, they may enter into time-wise correction. HDFC Bank 3-year no return, Kotak Mahindra Bank 4-year no return, HUL 4-year no return, Reliance 2.5, 3 years no return. So I'm not saying the same thing will happen with Tata Tech, but my limited point is that if you're chasing the stock now, bear in mind you're buying a Tata Group company at a P multiple of 70 plus trailing, and the industry average for KPIT and for LTT Tech and all, I think is way different. The sector P multiple has got contracted to mid-teens and mid-20s on a trailing basis when it comes to some of the large cap companies. That's my limited point. But yeah, in terms of history, Wall History's got created today. In terms of magnificence, I think this is as good as it gets. In terms of the scarcity premium and the Tata appeal, I think everything is getting captured. So, you know, like they say, Sone pe suhaga. I think that's the real word when it comes to describing this listing.
All right, so that's the view coming in from ET Now, and ET Now Swadesh's managing editor, that's Nikunj Dalmia, on Tata Tech IPO in particular. But let's not forget 2023, India has seen record IPOs. Actually, almost 205 or so. But my colleague Vamakshi is here to break it down for us, to talk about how the IPOs have been in this year alone. And Vamakshi, what a year! What last 2 days have been spectacular, isn't it? A lot of people are having FOMO feelings.
Well, absolutely. When we talk about the number of listings that happened on the mainline IPO board in 2023, nearly 48 companies have listed on exchanges. Now, out of these 48 companies, nearly 77% of them have actually managed to close in the green on the listing day itself. Now, today also we had 3 new listings. We saw a stellar debut for Tata Tech, as we've all been speaking about. The stock listed at a 140% premium. Gandhar Oil, which was another a performer, it listed actually at nearly 76% premium. While on the other hand, we saw a very somber, lackluster debut from Fedbank Financial Services, which actually in turn listed at a discount of almost 1.5%. But let's also revisit the best performing IPOs that we saw in 2023. So far, Tata Tech, with its stellar debut today, is set to be the best performing IPO on the listing day for 2023. Currently, the stock was trading around 160% higher, but even at the listing premium of almost 140%, the stock is the best performing IPO on the listing day itself. Apart from that, Idea Forge Tech also saw gains of over 90% with Utkarsh Small Finance Bank, and we also have IRDA making it to this list with a listing day gain of almost 87%. Not just that, when we look at the IPO data for the last 5 years, in fact, we saw a very good listing from Sigachi Industries, Paras Defense, Latent View. All of those IPOs performed very well on the listing day, but in fact, Tata Tech is also on track to be among the top 5 best performing IPOs in the last 5 years. So all in all, those were all the data points that I had to share for the IPOs that have been listed in the last 5 years.
All right, so those are the list of IPOs that we've seen actually, and Tata Tech for now being one of the stellar listings, at least in the year 2023. And also, Vamakshi, it's also among the largest listings this year. So if you have to look at the largest listings this year, one of them is Cube Highway, then you have Mankind, you have Nexus, and also you have Tata Tech that features in the list, JSW Infra also, and IREDA as well. So thank you so much, Vamakshi, for putting all of that into context. And yes, a lot of FOMO for a lot of them, given the fact the subscription numbers for these IPOs also has been spectacular. So let's bring on board our guests for today. We have Kunal Bothra as well as Sharmila Joshi joining us on the show. Very good morning to you, Sharmila, as well as Kunal. Thank you so much for joining us. And Sharmila, let me come to you because I know Kunal would not speak about IPOs and recently listed counters, but for a week at least it's been for these 3 debutants, isn't it? A spectacular returns coming in, at least for IREDA in the last 2 days has seen good up move. Also, you have Tata Tech, spectacular up move coming for that. Let's not forget Gandhar also. That one also listed in a bumper listing that it witnessed today. What's your take on all of these companies hitting the bourses? Now, what should investors do if they've missed out on it?
So, I think really what last week has taught us is that we had 5 IPOs, in fact, which opened, I think one opened on one day and 4 on the other. One was Play Writing, one was Gandhar, one was the Fedbank Financials, Tata Tech, and of course, IREDA. One common factor I think that you saw in all these is that somewhere the investors perceived that there had been enough left on the table for IPO investors. I think this becomes a very important factor, which must be taken into account when you are setting a price for your IPO. Because, for instance, let's take the case of Tata Tech. Given the fact that the Tatas were coming out with an IPO after so many years, they could have easily priced it higher. But they did give that opportunity to initial investors to be excited about the IPO and try and apply so that they could make money going forward. Little did we think that you would make everything that you hope for on day one itself if you had put money. But the point remains that they were very prudent when they priced their IPO, and I think that's my key takeaway. Even Honasa, if you remember the debate at that time, that was the only negative that a lot of people said that the pricing was not correct. And they did pay the price for that on the day they listed. It's another thing that their numbers were sort of bumper numbers. Let's hope that they are sustainable, which is why we saw the sort of stock bounce back. But the point remains that if their IPO had been more fairly priced, they would have probably seen better subscriptions and even better returns on day one. So I think it's always good strategy to leave something on the table for investors when you price your IPO.
Okay, so that's the take on the fundamental side, that whether or not there's still an opportunity to go ahead and invest in all these counters. But before we slip into a short break, ET Now and ET Now Swadesh, in line with helping Indians rise with India, have partnered with Sundram Mutual Fund to launch Nivesh Day, a groundbreaking campaign to help viewers build their personal finance portfolios through regular and disciplined investing. Nivesh Day is being celebrated on the 5th of every month. Join ET Now and ET Now Swadesh and Sundram Mutual to learn how you can build your financial future with an SIP in mutual funds. But with this, viewers, we'll slip into a very short break in this edition of Buy Now Sell Now. Don't go anywhere. As we come right back, it's time to take all your stock-related queries, so start writing to us.
Welcome back. You're watching Buy Now Sell Now on ET Now, a show where we get you answers for all of your stock-related queries. Remember, viewers, you can connect to us on the WhatsApp number that will be flashing on your screen. Do remember, each time you write to us, mention your name, the stock that you're looking to invest in. If you're already invested in the stock, mention the buy price, the quantity, as well as the time horizon. In that way, our experts will be able to help you better. And talking about experts, today we have Kunal Bothra as well as Sharmila Joshi joining us on the show. Good morning once again to both of you. And Kunal, let me come first to you. This one is coming from Thomas. He's writing to us from Kerala, and he wants to invest about 50,000 rupees in a particular counter, and he wishes to buy the shares and hold it for the next 6 months. Which one do you think that should be?
Three options you have: BHEL, HAL, as well as GAIL. Now, I think all three of the stocks are looking attractive to me on the charts. They seem to be coming back into some sort of a breakout for themselves. On a strong momentum scale, all of these three stocks are. I think GAIL is the one which has been lagging behind. The stock is at 130 approximately. So that also looks attractive for at least another 15% odd over that kind of a time span. BHEL, the momentum has been extremely strong. Had been recommending the stock earlier. Would look out for targets closer to 188 to 200 over the very near term. And I think even for HAL, the stock has been going into an absolute strong momentum. So that's also a stock which you can probably look to eye with that kind of a time frame.
Okay, moving on then, and Sharmila, the next query is coming from Anuradha from Vijayawada. She is holding shares of Adani Green Energy, 1,000 shares from a price of 1,040 rupees. Wants an advice what to do in this particular counter.
Honestly, I think that she can continue to hold. The only concern with the Adani group is, of course, the news flow. So you need to sort of keep that in the background, that you follow up on the news of what is happening. Recently, we had this whole thing coming to a head where Supreme Court was going to hear about the Hindenburg report, and then they have stayed their comment, and all the stocks have rallied. So you need to keep that as in the background. But in terms of the actual stock and the valuation it is at, I think you can continue to hold.
All right. This one is coming in from Sudha. This one is for you, Sharmila. And she's saying that there are differing views on Tata Power by various brokerages. She wants to know fundamentally which of the power stocks that she should buy. Should it be Adani Power? Should it be Tata Power or CG Power? She's confused. She's hoping that fundamentally you will be able to help her which one is better to buy for a period of 2 years at least.
I think Tata Power, because I think in terms of balance sheet, it's the cleanest balance sheet, as well as the kind of new ventures that they're talking of. Those also sound fairly good. Everybody who's talking of getting into some kind of alternate energy or green energy, etc. That is something that you sort of need to keep in mind. So looking at all those things, I think for me it's Tata Power.
Okay, moving on, and Kunal, the next query is coming from Ranjit. He has actually purchased shares of Aztec Life Sciences very near to its all-time high levels. He entered in 50 shares in quantity at price of 2,000 rupees. The stock is almost half from those levels. Good time to average out, and how are the charts looking like? Hoping for any recovery?
Well, I don't expect an immediate recovery into the stock. Nothing major in terms of the charts for Aztec Life. Yes, the stock has halved from those levels, but it doesn't look like the momentum on the downside is waiting for the stock. In fact, at current levels also, the stock is now very close towards breaking the most immediate support, which is around 1150 mark. So I think it's just off by some 40-50 rupees from the previous swing low. So I would not suggest an averaging out. But if you are looking to shift from this stock to some other stock from the similar space, from the pharma space particularly, I would recommend shift to Glaxo. I think that's a stock which is actually looking very attractive and is heading towards a much more stronger as well as a triangular breakout on the long-term charts, which means that the prospect over the next, say, couple of years could be a lot more positive for the stock.
Alright, Kunal, one more coming your way. This one's coming from Tina, and she's firstly telling you thank you for your Diwali pick of Poonawalla FinCorp. She was able to add this particular counter at a good price, and I'm sure she's pretty happy about it as well already. Now she wants to know, she wants to add some more of these financial stocks in her portfolio. I don't think you will talk about Fed Bank given the fact it just listed today, but Manappuram Finance or L&T Finance, which one do you think that she should add to her portfolio?
So I would suggest to add L&T Finance, Manappuram Finance, if possible, add both of them, because both of them are completely different in terms of their chart patterns, in terms of the way they these stocks behave in terms of a market trend. For example, Manappuram Finance has an odd tendency that if the markets are going into an uptrend, the stock can go into a correction by itself. L&T Finance generally tends to be in sync with the market mood, but then at times you've seen both these stocks, they move in tandem, as well as both these stocks, they have a capacity to move into different trends for themselves individually as well. But what we have to also look out for is individually both of these charts have confirmed breakouts for themselves on a multi-month, multi-quarter as well as multi-year time frame. So if possible, look to add both. I also believe for Poonawalla FinCorp that the stock is about to get into a much more stronger set of a breakout. So possibly the stock can try to come back to even the 440, 450 mark. So hold on to that stock as well.
Okay, Kunal, the next query is actually specifically for you. This one is coming from Karan from Delhi. He's holding 1,000 shares of Oriental Hotels from a price of 40 rupees, having almost double the returns from his buy price. But he wants to know whether he should continue to hold on to this one or rather make a switch to a stock name, the Bike Hospitality. I'm not sure whether you track this one or not, but he wants a suggestion that making the switch will be good enough.
See, you can make that switch, but I'm not sure the relative outperformance which you are looking out for. So, for example, for Oriental Hotels, a stock which is at 100 approximately, I sense that the stock should at least try and make a dash back again towards the previous highs of 110. So, 115 approximately could be a good range where you may look to do that exit for Oriental Hotels. Bike Hospitality, that stock is on the ASM side. The liquidity for the stock is a bigger concern, and I think that's where I would believe that there could be a probability that if there is a sharper correction to the stock, exiting the stock with a higher quantity if you've purchased, then I think you could be a bit tricky. So I would suggest that probably just hold on to Oriental Hotels as of now, maybe at 115 mark. If Bike also comes back to a corrective mode, say closer to 45 odd mark, that could be a zone where you may do that switch.
Alright, on that note, actually we'll slip into a break on this edition of Buy Now, Sell Now. When we come back, we'll continue taking all of your stock related queries. Don't go anywhere.
Welcome back to Buy Now Sell Now, show where we get you answers for all your stock related queries. And today onto the expert side, we have Kunal Bothra as well as Sharmila Joshi with us. And Sharmila, coming to you for the next counter, that is Hinduja Global Solutions. A viewer named Kumar Swami has been holding the stock from a price of 1,417 rupees. The stock has been recently in the news, as reports suggest that there was IT survey at some of their places. But talking about the fundamental side, do you believe that there could be some recovery for this particular counter as his buying price is quite high?
Valuations even at this level are looking fairly stretched. So yes, I'm sort of neutral on the stock. You could see a slight improvement from the current price, but my target on the stock would be closer to about 1100.
Right. This next one is coming in from someone I think most of them will envy today, and that is Mr. Thomas George. He's writing to us of Kochi. He's got allotment of 30 shares of Tata Tech, and he wants to know whether he should hold, sell, or continue to add some more in his portfolio. Sharmila, What's your take on this one? What should he do, given the fact he's among those few lucky people who got this allotment already and making spectacular returns?
I just saw a meme which said that if you've got allotment of Tata Technology, IREDA as well as Gandhar, sort of the Venn diagram, and then in the middle, if you've got allotment of all three, then you're like God's favorite child.
Yeah.
So he's ticked one of the boxes of God's favorite child because he's got Tata Tech. So I think continue to hold because if you liked it at 500, what's not to like at 1300? There's no taking away from the fact that some reality could return and the stock could move little lower than the current levels, because we do see that with a lot of IPOs that after 2 or 3 months of trading, the stock sort of finds its price. It's sort of the way it comes in. So maybe that's the time you could look to add, because you have 30 shares to start with, and that's a good start. So just stay with what you have.
What you have, Kunal, I'm very intrigued. I always wanted to ask you this question. When you see these returns coming in on day one of debut on D Street, do you ever feel like a FOMO or something like that? Like, why don't I track these companies and go ahead and invest in them in IPO ever?
No, Cheryl. In fact, I do an option trade and that I try to compensate that return with an option trade.
So always there's a backup plan, isn't
Exactly.
it? That's great. So, so Thomas, you got your answer when it comes to Tata Tech. Shrishti?
Well, yes, a lot of people are definitely envying that those who are getting subscription. But moving on to the next and back to the secondary market, then this one is coming in from Madhuri Kunal. Wants a technical advice on two counters. Firstly is Reddington as well as West Coast Paper. In both of these counters, she's having almost 12% loss each. Wants to know, is this a good time to average?
In fact, remember, I think almost a month or back I had mentioned that Reddington is a stock which you should definitely hold on. Even though the stock was, I think, around the 140-45 odd range for itself, because it's a classical, and very strong mid-cap IT name, but the stock has been going through some sort of a negative news flow. That's one of the major reasons why the stock is going through a correction, for itself, devoid of how the the mid-cap IT space have largely performed. So I still believe that Reddington is something which you should continue to hold on. If in case there is a further leg of correction and the stock say comes back towards that 145 odd mark, you should look to average further. West Coast Paper, on the other hand, I think has also come back towards a good support point at the 650 mark where the stock is trading right now. So you can look to average the stock at current levels as well.
All right, this one is coming in from Prashant from Delhi. Supriya Life Sciences. Kunal, have you tracked this one? Because I think it's been a year or so that it's been listed. He's bought the shares at around 280 rupees per share. Short to medium term, what should he do?
So you can look to hold on. I think after that strong candlestick, I think pattern for Supriya 4 days back or 5 days back, when the stock moved up from I think 250 to 275 on a single day. Post that, the inertia move has been on the upside. The volumes have been very, very attractive. And there could be a strong possibility that the stock may try and challenge at least the previous highs. Whether or not it will break, that will be dependent on how the volume shape up over the next, say, 1 week or so. But I believe that 310, 315 could be a moderate target range which you can keep. Maybe slightly lower than that, but I think that's a benchmark which you can keep for Supriya Life Sciences.
Okay, Sharmila, then the next query that I have is coming from Seema Kumar from Kolkata. She is holding 70 shares of Stovecraft from a price of 720 rupees. The stock is seeing decent move today, but she's still at a big loss. What to do in this one?
Which company is this?
Stovecraft. Yeah.
Okay. Let me just have a look. I think she should continue to hold. My target would be closer to 520. The stock has seen a correction, but given the sector the stock is in, as well as the results that they have been reporting, I think that 520 is a level that she can look for.
Right. Anand Nayak from Bangalore has Talbros Automotive, Kunal, and he said that at an average price of around 84 rupees per share, wants to know whether he should sell or add further.
Well, I think you can continue to hold on. I think if you bought at 84 rupees, then the stock is at 286, which means you're doing exceptionally well on the stock price. If that's the time frame, I'm assuming that you're a long-term investor, then you can hold on. The only reason for that is the recent correction. The last 1 week correction has been a bit steep from 325 to 285 levels where the stock is trading, there could be a rally towards 310 odd mark. That could be a point where you may look to consider booking profits.
Okay, the next query that I have is on BSC, and Sharmila Hamza is holding 380 shares from a price of 1070 rupees. We all know that what a move BSC has shown, but Hamza wants to buy more at current market price and continue to hold in for the next 3 to 5 years. Given the up move, will that make sense?
Well, honestly, I'm definitely positive on the space. It's just that what you said earlier, that, the stock has seen a huge rally. So that would be the only reason why I wouldn't buy more at this price. I would wait for markets to correct because, this is a stock which is linked very closely with the market. So if you do see a correction in the market for any reason, you see some sort of a phase where there is consolidation, where there is not much participation, you will see the stock price come down. So wait, I think, for that time and then add, because without doubt, I think, if you're looking at Indian markets from a 5 to 7 year perspective, you should be positive on a lot of the exchange stocks, whether it's an NCX, whether it is a BSC, NSE when it gets listed. So yes, I think continue to hold what you have, and to add more, I would wait.
Right, this one is coming for you, Kunal, and I'm very unsure if you track any of these counters which the viewer has mentioned, but he's requested us to take this query to you. This one is from Muni Rajulu, and he wants to know about Silchar Technologies, Avantel, as well as Apollo Micro. Do you track any of these counters?
No, none of them.
All right, let me take the next query then, and this next query is coming in from Arun Khanna, who's of the age of 67. He's writing to us from Jaipur, and he has 10,000 shares of Idea, which he's purchased at 9.3, 5,000 shares of Suzlon at 37. Kunal?
Well, I think if you've purchased Suzlon and Idea, I'm assuming that you are a high risk investor, but I'm not sure whether the risk profile, the age profile and the risk profile are a perfect match over here. I would believe that you can look to maybe book profits on Suzlon if it comes back to that 40-41 territory, and this could be a very good time where you may look to start building on large cap names. So I'm not sure of what's your entire portfolio composition, but I think making that switch from these stocks towards large cap names at the current juncture, where the large caps over the last 2-3 years broadly have been giving flattish kind of a return, I think would be a good strategy.
Okay, the next query that I have, Kunal, is coming from Ron. He's writing to us from a couple of days now, and he wants a suggestion on a couple of dividend yielding shares that he can hold for the long term. I know that a lot of these PSUs come in that basket, and you have been tracking those on the technical front, but any stock that you still believe has a good potential, and any of the counter you spot on the dividend side?
So I'm not sure of the exact or high dividend yield for the stock price, but I remember I think REC, PFC, Power Grid, these are few stocks which do have a higher dividend yield. Again, as I said, I'm not sure of the exact ranking of the dividend yield for these stocks, but they should be substantially at least in the top 5, top 7 zone from the pack. These three stocks still look very attractive. I'm not sure whether GAIL falls into that particular line, but even that stock looks attractive at the current level. So you can probably prefer REC, PFC, even though the stocks have run up exceedingly high. There could be an odd phase of correction, but I think the way these stocks have moved up in the last 6-9 months indicates that there's a big multi-year story for these stocks going forward.
Okay, so all these PSUs definitely fall into that dividend basket, but Sharmila, any stock that you wish to highlight that could help him with high dividend yield?
The best stock is Coal India. I believe the current dividend yield is about 7%, and from a retail perspective, that's a really, really good yield. So I would say, and I think even in terms of stock price, it can go up from here. So Coal India.
All right, the next one is coming from Vijesh Vishwanathan from Bangalore. He's not mentioned the time horizon of the counter that he's holding. Is 5,000 shares of Patanjali Foods at a price of 1,164 rupees per share. Sharmila, I'll take it to you. What's your take coming in on Patanjali Foods? Does it make sense for him to book out profits right now, or should he stay put in this particular counter?
I think book out, because I think the recent concerns that have come on their products, etc., and the valuations at this moment make me think that it's better to book out profit.
The next query is from Jay Devappa, and Kunal. He is holding shares of Jubilant Food, 170 in quantity from a price of 495 rupees. Wants to hold this for the long term, but given the market movement, good time to book out profits or continue to hold?
I think you should definitely continue to hold on. So one of the tough phases, I would not say the worst phase, But one of the tough phases for Jubilant Food from correcting from 900 to I think 450 mark in the last 2 years, I think that's seems to be behind the stock price. It's now trying to challenge back above its previous highs. So there's for the first time in the last 2.5 odd years, there is a sign of a breakout which is emerging for Jubilant Food. And if that gets confirmed or complemented with the other stocks from the similar space which can start to move up higher, we could be looking at a much stronger move for Jubilant Food. So I believe that maybe you've managed to ride on to the worst phase for these stocks, try and encash on the best phase going forward.
All right, this one's come from Subrata Mukherjee, and he's asking Sharmila, should he look to buy Fed Bank Financial? Do you think that this one is a good one to buy? Have you gone through the fundamentals of this one, because this one did not list with a premium today?
I like the stock. So, if there were three IPOs roughly, which I liked out of the five. One was, of course, IREDA, and then Tata Tech, obviously, and I think Fed Bank. The sector that Fed Bank Financials is in, obviously, is a challenging sector. So they will have all those headwinds. Coming to whether you should buy immediately, I think wait a bit, because, when new IPOs list, I think it's always good to give them that breathing period of a couple of months and then buy. So that's what my recommendation would be, to wait to buy. But overall, it's a stock.
Okay, moving on, and Kunal, Shaikh from Bangalore wants to invest in auto stocks for the long term, and the major OEMs that he has in mind is Eicher Motors, Hero, Bajaj Auto, Maruti. Any of the stock that you still like at this point in time, given the move?
So you can go for Eicher Motors at current levels. I think the stock is for the first time showing signs of a major breakout. There should be more legs on the stock on the upside. Maruti is something which you can consider. I've been very bullish on the stock, and I think at 10,400, 500 odd mark looks to be at attractive bet in terms of risk reward. Hero MotoCorp was also one of the bets, I think, over the last 1 or 2 weeks. But I think the stock has now run up from 3,300 to 3,800, 3,900 mark. So you're a bit late in terms of timing. In case if the stock corrects, look to enter the stock as well.
Okay, so that's the view on all these auto names. But with this, it's once again time to slip into a very short break. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Welcome back. You're watching Buy Now, Sell Now on ET Now. Let's continue taking all of your stock-related queries. And this one is coming from Chandra, writing to us from Mysore. And she has 2,000 shares of Lemon Tree Hotels at 115 rupees per share. Kunal, she has this for the last 2 months in her portfolio, but now wants to know whether she should hold, sell for medium term, or switch to some other share altogether.
So I think I would recommend to, as of now, start to book profits over here for Lemon Tree. Now the only concern for the stock which I am sensing on the charts is the last 3 months the stock has shown an absolute range for itself. So the 3 candlestick patterns which have been formed for the stock price generally are not considered to be bullish in terms of the nature, and I think that could be maybe one of the reasons why the stock may probably get into a corrective phase, say in the next 1 to 3 months. So you may consider booking profits over here and then look to buy back in case if the stock corrects sub 100.
Okay, the next query that I have, Kunal, is coming in on Granules India. Dr. Uday Singh has been holding 1,000 shares from a price of 370 rupees, and what a breakout we have seen in Granules. Good to hold for the short term. Any targets to look out for?
Yeah, definitely good to hold the stock even from current levels. It's completing a major flag pattern on the quarterly chart. So I think after 2020, September or October, from those levels, the stock had been going through a major quarterly correction for itself. So this seems to be the first time when the stock has confirmed a breakout after quarters of consolidation. So I would suggest to hold on to the stock. The first target, ideally, for the stocks is to take past the previous highs, which is 437, 440 mark for Granules, and post that you can keep on trailing your stop losses and looking out for much higher targets on the upside.
All right. This next query that I have is coming in from Balan, and he wants to know about out of MCX, BSE, CDSs as well as CAMS for the next 6 to 12 months. Which one should he look at buying, or should he look to start SIP in some of these? Let me take this query actually to you, Sharmila. You did speak about BSE, but among all of these exchange related companies, do you think it makes sense to buy right now for the next 6 to 12 months, or a SIP makes sense?
Yeah, I think SIP is the best idea, and I think that clearly you should make a basket of all these stocks, and it's a perfect I like the way he's thought this through, because you have a CAMS, you have a CDSL, you have a BST, and you have, I believe he said, which was the NCX. I think another stock that you could look to add could be, that new listing, Protean. That's another stock you could look to add. So yes, I think definitely do an SIP on all these. I think that makes a lot of sense. Try and start your SIP at a time when market's correct, and then just go with it.
Okay, the next query, Sharmila, is coming from P. Ramesh. He's a long-term investor and holding shares of TTK Health from a price of 1,306 rupees. What to do in this particular counter? The stock has already shown good move. So what's the outlook?
In between there was sort of some news flow which had, for which I'd liked the stock. But now the price that it's at, as well as the recent developments, make me think that you can hold what you have. But definitely, I think don't add any further. Don't add at this level for sure.
Right, let's kickstart with the rapid fire. The first one coming your way, Kunal. This one is from Madhusudan from Hyderabad. Tata Power, Adani Power, 100 shares at 451 rupees per share. Stay put with this or switch to something else?
Switch to Tata Power.
Kunal, SK Saran is holding 150 shares of LIC Housing from a price of 434 rupees. Short-term targets.
Hold on for a target of 510.
Alright, this one is coming in from Arjun. HDFC Bank shares bought at around 1,630 rupees per share a few months ago. What should he do? Average it out, buy some more? What sort of strategy should he adopt, Sharmila?
I think just continue holding you have. Don't look to add.
Okay, Sharmila, between Electra Greentech and JBM Auto, any of the counters that you still go for a buy? This question is from Mali.
I think JBM Auto.
Kunal, Priya wants to know Garden Reach. She purchased at 820. Anytime soon, will it hit 900 rupees per share?
Looks like continue to hold on.
Kunal, Pankaj is holding shares of CDSL from a price of 1,032 rupees. Wants to hold this for the next 3 years. Will that be good?
It's a very good idea. Continue to do that.
Okay, let me talk about CAMS once again. Then Sri Krishna from Hyderabad has 50 shares of CAMS at the price of 2,700 rupees per share. Should he average or simply continue to hold on, Kunal?
I think you should continue to hold on as well as average at current levels.
Sharmila, can Indu go for a fresh buy in Thermax as well as Birla Corp at current market price?
Yes, for Thermax, Birla Corp. No.
Okay, new gen software, Kunal. Sitaram Ganesh wants to know whether he can enter right now and stay put for a year.
Very bullish on the stock. Continue to do that. Hold on as well as look to buy at current levels.
Kunal, Krish wants to add Ircon in his portfolio. What will be your view?
High risk stock, wait out for a correction. Closer to 145 could be a good zone to enter.
Okay, let's talk about Ireda then. Sharmila, Srikanth has got this one, 460 shares on subscription. Should he look to hold or book profits?
Which stock, I'm sorry?
Ireda is the stock. The one that...
Definite, it's a definite hold. It's a definite hold.
Sharmila, New India Assurance is being bought by Sangeeta and she's already having 60% profit. Good to hold on or book profits?
She's lucky that she sort of makes money. Just continue to hold what you have, but definitely don't add to it.
Alright, and with that we come to the end of the rapid fire as well as queries. Thank you so much, Kunal, as well as Sharmila for patiently answering all of our viewer queries, as well as Sharmila for talking particularly about the IPO market. And with that, we are totally out of time on this edition of Buy Now, Sell Now. It's a goodbye from Shrishti, myself and the team that put the show together. Thank you so much for watching. Stay tuned. Markets at noon coming up next.